Howdy ho, everyone. How are you doing? This is Sharon Combs with Knowledge or Nonsense. I'm here with Lila Price and Lorraine Perkins, subject matter experts in the field of sterilization, and also very knowledgeable about travel and consulting and learning how to anticipate and prep for future things. And so we're just going to pick up where we left off last night. We were talking about this uptick that we're on as far as volumes are going to come back. You know, things are stabilizing, still crazy, but stabilizing with COVID-19. And so we're talking about some of the things travelers could do to prepare, some of the things SPD managers could do to prepare for this upcoming volume, coming out of where we've been and getting back focused on a more standardized trajectory of things. And so we're just going to jump back in later today. We'll come in with some information that we saw from some of the travelers and some questions they had. So, Luana, how about I start off with you? We were talking about that uptick and how managers can prepare. What are some things that since last night that may have crossed your mind of areas we can look at and things we can do?
Well, in this time of low volume, slower pace, we could have undertaken a number of projects, right? For instance, asset inventory, making sure all your trays that you think you have in stock, you actually have in stock, and assembling that priority list. You know, those trays that total knee tray that every Tuesday for the past 3 years, we have 4 scheduled cases with only 2 trays. This is the time to reassemble, properly assemble, review your inventory so we can be the best resource for the operating room. So that's just one example of a project one could undertake during this downtime.
I definitely agree with that. I think those are some of the key areas of interest for management to look into. Also, I would take on, it's a good, like with projects in general, sometimes we just do not have the bandwidth to attack those problems in the way we would like to. And allocating staff, and maybe this is a good time for more feedback of the things that we know, a good time to review what's going on operationally. Like, you know, what areas do we seem to have issues with turnovers? Is it something that happens more often around, 12 and 1 o'clock, or, looking at reviewing our schedules, seeing what we can do to make adjustments to appease everyone and help all those when we come out of this? Because I think even for us even though downtime exists right now, I think a lot of us have anxiety about what's to come, and we don't know what that surge is going to feel like, look like, smell like, taste like, and how do we prepare for that?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm totally agree. You know what I find amazing, Lila, is there are so many hospitals that we visit, close to at least 1,000 in the past 5 years. The hospital can be spick and span in operation, can be staffed appropriately, but you go into that drawer where implants are, or the instrument drawer, and you got dust bunnies everywhere, right?
Yes.
It's a good idea to clean your department. This is what I consider low hanging fruit, because we still adopt the standard plea that if it can't be clean, or if it's not clean, it's not sterile. So what does that say about your department? Your department's not clean,
right?
Maybe a little suspect of what's going to come out there.
That's excellent.
Valid point. Something I had seen, a meme I had seen posted was someone, it was just a joke about, last month Joint Commission told us we couldn't have tape on the wall. Now we are reprocessing N95 masks. And it made me laugh just because I that's the reality we're dealing with right now. We've been told our world is changing for whether you consider the good or the bad, but it's changing. Right. And how do we get people to get back in line with what we know has been our standard, our guidelines for all this time? And we've told them to go a different route. So how do we bring them back? How do we let them know, okay, that was a crisis. Now I want you to focus on this. And then, you want to start talking about tape on the wall, but 3 weeks ago was okay for us to reprocess a single-use item. So, finding that area, I don't know. The tech I'm already on my skeptical, like,
okay,
these beliefs that we holding on to.
I like that. I'm going to weigh in on that because that deals with trust. That doesn't even deal with the processes. That deals with trust. And once trust is destroyed, it is very, very difficult to regain. And so prior to this pandemic, now I have mercy for everybody involved because it's unprecedented, right?
Yes.
And so it's unprecedented, all eyes on you. That's one thing about visibility. Everyone, we all kind of like, coulda, shoulda, maybe this, oh, that didn't work. You know, some people have it in hindsight, some people have it in plain sight because we're watching. But that trust with the, this is, just charge this to my head and on my heart, but the trust that we've placed in certain organizations and certain governing bodies, you know, and what looked like a waffle when they got hit, you know, the little legs shook. And so they started, now you're going to come back and you're going to talk about the tape. And it's not about the tape. It's just like about, what's that Eddie Murphy movie? The trust. And so, you know,
it's a good point.
I have mercy on them because they've lost some trust, not just within the medical community. And you know, people will be understanding, but it was still shaking a bit. And so that's something that they'll have to kind of get back, you know. They have the positional authority, but the educational influence and the respect, there was a little bit that may have gotten lost amongst the sterilization community just because we're so apprised of sterilization principles and practices. And so it would be like me not playing football and going out there and being like home run, but I am over the entire football thing, but I'm using a different terminology. You know, they have to get that trust back. Okay, I've digressed a little bit.
That was a good point. That was a great point because you know, at the end of this whole cycle, and we will make it through. If SP wasn't valued before, I can guarantee you their value now.
And that's what I hope we did the most with this time. Even though they were working hard, some places had the lower volumes. Elective surgeries were canceled out, so they had lower volumes. So I hope, again, that's one of the things, I hope Netflix is not the only thing that would have gained during this time of restricted movement, because I'm saying we, like in the sterile processing community, I have heard people say, well, they don't listen to us and they don't do that, they don't do that. And for this time, more lights and more eyes and more ears are receptive to hear what we have to say. So I hope we don't miss that conversation. And that's part of growing in leadership. You know, I hope we're not so glad that we get to speak that we just, you know, we don't choose the words that we want to use during that time. Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, we did. That's a valid point. And I would tell all my my colleagues that are members of the C-suite, CEO, CFO, CNOs, you need to listen louder.
Yes.
Listen louder. Hear what your folks, your constituencies down in SPD are trying to tell you. They've been trying to tell you the same story before this crisis hit, and it's going to sound like a repetitive song after this crisis is over. So listen louder.
Louder. And you know what? Respectfully, also, I would add sooner. Sometimes we don't listen to. Sometimes it's not that even we're trying not to listen, but other things may, like you said, be louder. And we wait till the Joint Commission or someone else comes in and forces that conversation when those resources are there the entire time. You know, I've worked with hospitals who, even though they don't need anything at the time, they still invest in a third party just to come in once a year to make sure, hey, we're still on track. What's going on? You know, and that saves them money because they fix it. They're proactive instead of trying to recover something on the back end. Hey, I wanted to share this too. With us ramping up again, I was just, as far as SPD, like a vendor, if you don't have a vendor management, like a policy and procedure for how you manage your vendors, that's something you really can look at right now. And if you and your counterparts, like the OR and other outliers, haven't been on one page, this is a great time as they're getting ready for this uptick to really communicate that. Not in a way that is just like, well, they always late. Okay, that's not going to get you a lot of traction with decision makers or with C-suite individuals. You need to be able to actually present information. Okay, based on our capacity, based on the equipment that we have and our volume, you know, capacity, we're unable to get you what you need if the vendor doesn't get it here in time, especially with the uptick, because you're gonna have what, almost 25% more to 50% more cases. So there's going to be more instrument with less space. You have the same resources that you had before. And so this will be a great time if your physicians haven't been on board with vendors having to get things there in a respectable amount of time or in a feasible amount of time, you know, to make cases. This would be a great time to have that policy brushed up on, updated, and submitted and put in place. So again, there are some things that we don't think of as Q1s or priority that we could really do to position ourselves, you know, to position ourselves for the upcoming things. Both of you look like you have some thoughts on, I'm sorry, I was just thinking about vendors. Also how the vendors, for you people who make decisions in purchasing, look at how your vendors treated you during COVID-19. I'm here to keep it very real. Were you able to get a hold of any of your reps? You know, did pricing all of a sudden double when you've had a B2B relationship with this individual for years, decades even? These are things you want to look at. I'm just putting it out there. So yeah, you guys both look like you had some thoughts about this uptick and just getting ready for it. If you can, both of y'all had thoughts when I was talking about
it's just preparation. You know, SPD as a core, there are so many ancillary stakeholders that will impact your day-to-day production from the onset. So vendors are one, and vendors come in different forms, right? We talk about the vendors that bringing loaner trays in from other hospitals, vendors that you order disposable stock from. Everyone has to be on the page. Everyone should clearly,
right.
Everyone should be on the same page and clearly understand what's their impact on your production, what's the impact on your morale, what's the impact on your day-to-day activity that's gonna cause a trickle effect or impact directly to the operating room. So we use the term "everyone matters" and "you matter." You have to make sure and understand what that means. What's the kinetic or touch points that you can improve on, and we can run down a list of several different topics. By high-level overview, look at who's coming into your department, what's their value, and are they coming in the right way?
Very good points.
Exactly. So do you guys have anything else before we do the hot seat questions? The hot seat questions tonight are actually two comments that some of our counterparts within the industry have shared. Anyone? Okay, I do want to say this. I've worked with some travelers. I've worked with travelers. I've worked with recruiters. I've worked with agencies. And so there was a poll put out. And so for you travelers, I definitely want to let you know we heard you. No need to put, like, we heard you. And I thank you for participating in both the poll and the question. One of them had to do with the honesty level. And it was like, who do you believe? Who is the most honest? I never said who's the most dishonest, but who is the most honest? And the options were the traveler, the recruiter, or the agency. And almost like 2-1, they were like the travelers. So for the traveler group, it's like the travelers. And the next one was the recruiters. And at this point in the poll, in the question, no one has said giving the agency a vote. And so agencies out there, you know, all feedback is not pleasant. But for the agencies out there, we just want to encourage you to take note of that. Yes. Yeah, the recruiter, the travelers was like travelers first, then recruiters. And this group, actually, like this poll people, they had recruiters and travelers in it. So don't just be mad at the travelers because none of the recruiters voted for the agency either. That's crazy. So what do you guys think about that? That's the hot seat. What do y'all think about that?
I think it's honest. I think it's a good point of view to have. I think that it's a point of view though only from maybe from one side, because
thank you for being honest there.
The travelers probably weighed in a little bit more heavier than anyone else. But I think that it gives you a perspective of what that core group believes. And if they believe that they may not be represented in the best way, by an agency or a recruiter, then we need to have those conversations. And, I employ people to do their research when they have recruiters. It was a lesson I had to learn throughout the process. Have more than one recruiter in your pocket so that you know what's out there, and be mindful where they're submitting you for jobs so that you don't get submitted, by more than one recruiter for something, because then you'll get totally wiped out. And also be mindful of what type of reputation they have. And it doesn't take anything to put up a question. Trust me, people are quick to chime in about whatever agency's out there, if they've had a good experience or a bad experience. And that's pretty much, you just have to navigate it that way. But it's interesting to see that that's how the travelers feel. I feel like right now we're under a different siege of time. So I would employ them to recognize their worth and go into this next negotiation process with an open mind, and but also with open-ended questions of how you will be treated when you get to this next destination or whatever your assignment will be.
And I like that you said that. Again, I believe all feedback is good feedback, because even though the travelers feel that way, since they feel that way and believe that, that's going to drive their behavior. But I would like to submit, just because we believe something does not mean it's true. It just means it's true to you. And so that's one perspective of it. Now, Mr. Perkins, I'm sure you can speak to another side of it, which again is the belief. We need all this information.
Absolutely. Well, I would tell my travelers and my colleagues that travel, it's a relationship, and the best relationship is a give and take. In this sort of corporate environment, recruiters and agencies need you a whole lot more than you need them, right?
Right.
You can't do your job, right? You SPD is from a special breed.
Yes.
It takes a level of emotional intelligence. You have to master the theory of sterilization and be able to connect it to hands-on application. It's not an easy task. If it was an easy task, there will be no need for recruiters agencies, right? So you're of a special breed. I would say to also qualify Lala's statement, do your homework. You want to get with a team, a recruiter and an agency that values people over profits, right? You really matter. Once you get to the point of your career that's about building your legacy, no one's gonna remember how well that recruiter signed your paycheck. No, they're not gonna remember how well they did such a great job putting you in a hospital 5 miles from where you live at. You're gonna remember how well they treated you. How well did they treat you as a person? Did they give you the respect and dignity you deserve as a healthcare professional? So do your homework. Make sure the recruiting agency that you are doing business with, they can match your value system.
All right. And I want to weigh in. I have a couple of comments because we're at 18 minutes, but we are weighing. It starts going fast, doesn't it? I do want to weigh in. Just on the recruiter side, as someone who has recruited a few years back and getting a true understanding of that. Oftentimes, some of the travelers think that recruiters are getting something they're not getting. As a rule, within this field, the travelers financially do have a higher revenue than recruiters. So the recruiter, if they're lying to you, then I apologize for them. But as a rule, on the whole, it is they want you in there. They're doing everything they can to get you in there, to fill these spots. There's a high demand for this specialized field, and most of them aren't just seeing you as a dollar. And how do they do that? And if so, like LaWayne said, that's good information for you to know. Now, I also want to say this in this season.
I have to ask you a question there.
Yes,
the traveler should make more than a recruiter, right?
The traveler is paid based on the job they're doing in that specialized field. Right.
And I take it back to sports. How many coaches make more in the NBA? How many coaches makes more than their starting 7?
Right. Jackson's retired. So yeah. Right. I get your point. No, I don't think, and to be clear, I don't think one should make more than another, or they should make the same. I feel like your field dictates. That's where your value is determined. Like
Right.
you're specialized. You're specialized. Recruiters recruit. They can recruit within any field. Your field determines your pay. But in the poll, when we were asking the questions, that's one of the things that came up, and I was like, oh, that's not the case. But
Interesting.
again, I think I would love when I was recruiting. I'm super cool and love the fact that people make a good amount of money. That is actually easier for the recruiter. You know, you'll stay at that job if people are valuing you, not just financially, but how they treat you as a person. So that works in the recruiter's behalf. I was just saying, like, to me, looking at the money backwards like that's backwards for the traveler to me to turn around and look at the recruiter. Like, you're making the point that you're specialized in your field. You do your thing. No matter who you meet in this field, you'll see them again in a few years. It's a small
Yes.
population. This is a specialized thing. So you do your thing. Like Snoop Dogg will say, you do your thing, do your thing, Thizzle. You do your thing. Because your thing is going to provide for you. That's the value right there. So I wanted to ask that. And what else did you say about how people would treat you? You said that about Maya Angelou. So okay, yeah. So I've digressed there. So someone says, I agree. You should know your worth. However, remember the end game is patient safety. So bring your A game and stay current with industry changes. Yeah, do your homework. Ask those questions. Ask about where you're going. Okay, guys, sorry. I want to say this. I especially want to say these two things to the travelers. I will get off. Guys, please hear me. Whoever you are, if you're going to travel now or if you've traveled or will travel in the future, I want you to understand, because as a recruiter, I will share this with people. And it's just information. It's not right or wrong. You have to do what's right for you. Your best fit may not be the next person's best fit. But like you said, don't double apply. That doesn't mean don't apply with different agencies. Definitely have more than one. Listen, you have to you need to work. You have to take care of you. But don't double apply to the same position, because that won't serve you. Like, you mess around and like they kick you out. Some things kick you out and just automatically remove you from it. So don't double apply. Don't double apply. Communicate with your recruiter and do all of those things before you sign. Before you sign, just like buying a car or going to a college or buying whatever. And I'm saying that about buying a car, going to a college, or buying a house, because also when you travel, you know that there's a net pay and a per diem and a lodging cost and all of that. However, when you want to go buy a house or buy a car, what you're getting on your net pay may not be what your pay rate is. And when it's
a very good point.
Leveling up, you know, you want to get married, you know, you need to get you need to get into this 3-bedroom house because you're moving your family over there. Look at your stuff, because when it's time to get approved for those loans, they're looking at your pay rate. They're not looking at your net pay. And so here during this time, many people went out for unemployment, right? And when you went out for unemployment, you're like, hey, this paycheck is 1/3 of what I'm normally getting, because unemployment is off of your pay rate. And so listen, this ain't about being right or wrong. We're trying to give everybody the tools they need to succeed holistically in every area of your life. And so I'm just sharing that to you. Sometimes we're so busy trying to get an extra dollar at the end of the week, we don't think about the end of the year or the end of the next year. Make sure that how you're setting yourself up serves your long-term and short-term plans. Lila, I see you thinking about something there. What you got?
No, those are excellent points. I see those questions posted a lot within some of the groups, and I just want to also add in is just that your like you said, long-term Social Security, things that look at how much money you are able to put in will determine how much money later you can get out. So I know how the game, I've seen people play it different ways. You know, they'll take a contract, one contract, they'll have a higher hourly rate so that they can they don't get as much for their other their travel and those other expenses, those accommodations. But then they'll flip it for another contract so that they get a lower hourly rate and get more back on the non-tax. So you just gotta be smart about it if you're going to play that kind of game, but make sure that you are looking out for yourself, because your worth is basically your income. And you want to be able to say that you are at a higher income rate when you want to look for get a lower interest rate on a loan for a car or a home or things like that. Anything. Yep. So you want that to help you and benefit you in that regard. So pay attention to those. Those are very, very great points that I think travelers kind of miss. You don't know about, and you got to just hope somebody kind of schools you in that direction at some point. But it's good things to know.
You have to pay attention to your needs. My high school and my college needs are going to be different than my my married needs and my children's needs. Like, you have to. Needs come in different ways, and so you have to learn how to navigate. That's what we're here for, just to help you grow. What you got, LaWayne? I do have a comment for a hot seat, and then
Sharon, I would recommend, because I also get a lot of questions from technicians who are not financially literate, how to buy a home, right? How to successfully manage finances. So I would recommend that we do a segment on this platform for our community. And we know a lot of great people who can really answer those questions.
Yeah, because they're going to ask a lot of questions, and they're going to look at stuff a lot closer than you'll be like, well, no, this is how much I make. And they'll be like, no, you don't make that much at all. And then also we will ask them those questions, and because you want to be able to look at taxes. Okay, so here is going to here's what this person says. I say that all the time. She encourages people to consider the impact of their decisions now and later. Like if you know your rent and everything is going to take it all right now, then put yourself, structure that. But again, if you know that there's something you want to get later, you kind of want to look at that and change. Your payoff is still your payoff. One is more immediate. One is more foundational. Okay, so this is our hot seat question, and then I'm playing 2 commercials, and then we'll be back, and then we'll be out of here. Y'all, can I have you for a few more minutes?
Absolutely.
Here's the hot seat question, and I think this applies not just within the sterile processing, within the OR suite type of thing, but and within the travelers and recruiters. And so it says, why is there always a divide? Both parties are working toward meeting customers' needs, whether that's customer safety, whether that's a facility or, a client with travelers and recruiters. Why is there always a divide? Both parties are working toward meeting a customer's needs. So I'm gonna let you guys think about that. We're gonna go over here and look at a couple of, we'll be back in about 1 minute and 30 seconds, and you guys can answer those things, and we'll move on.
At SIPS Consult, we understand that these are changing times, and these are times for unity. SIPS Consult would like to extend complimentary sterile processing, consulting, and educational services to support your sterile processing department needs during this COVID-19 crisis. Everyone is aware that things are extremely challenging right now. We want to personally thank you for caring for our communities. We appreciate you. We appreciate being in this fight for us and with us and remaining on the front lines. In an effort to provide SPD support during this time, we have created a non-automated 24/7 complimentary helpline with subject matter experts to support your department. We encourage you to call us with any sterile processing questions or inquiries. To speak with one of our dedicated consultants, please call us at the number below.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much. The hot seat question, why is there always a divide? both parties, and sometimes more than both, all parties are working toward the customer satisfaction. So what do we think about that? Why is there always a divide? I have thoughts.
Well, I'm just, did I hear a complete question? Why is there always the divide between?
Why is there always a divide? Why is there always a divide? Both parties are working toward meeting the customer's needs. And that can go for travelers and recruiters, and they can go for the OR and SPD. Like, what is this thing where we're always, since we both are going the same way toward patient safety or toward fulfilling a client's needs, if we're both running the same direction, why do we take the time to bump into each other? You know, just picture a track runner on the thing and you're running in the same direction, but you want to, you know, what is this? Like, so why is there always that divide? That's crazy, right? I did it on air.
Because we don't stay in our lane, right? Sometimes we
that's really good.
Like, if you don't stay in your lane, you're bound to merge into somebody else's and cause an accident or something. But I'll let you guys weigh in because I'm still thinking on that divide part. I think that's what happened.
I think that's a great response. I would share that although we have the same end goal, we don't have the same starting goal, right? And that's important. Yeah, we don't have the same goal.
Y'all give away some hearts and snaps for that.
Yeah, we gotta truly adopt and put the patient first on at the onset. You know, not when we get in the mindset of I'm in scrubs, but before you get there. So we just got to understand, why do we choose this profession, right? What are we here for? And that we need each other. You know, we get to the stance that I don't need you, you know, or you work for me, or I work for you. We work for each other. We need each other. So just understand what
relationship.
It's a relationship. So
yeah, that's a very good outlook, and I think that's a holistic outlook. Yeah, because we do need each other, and that is the relationship. And the longer you stay within this field, within any field, you begin to recognize that. Lila, what do you think?
I wish we didn't even have to entertain that, but we know it exists. That divide is always going to be there because we have different, as Luane pointed out, we have different end goals sometimes. I mean, if different start points, but the same end goal. And so if someone doesn't value what you bring, it's easy for them to find something wrong or criticize or have some type of division between you because they may not just value what your input is, you know. And I think that's why you hear so many people talk about the value of importance of going to the OR and seeing a surgery, because sometimes you don't value what goes on in that room, in that setting, until you've seen what the actual process is. And the same, and vice versa. I think that, you know, maybe OR staff, and they do in my facility, need to come down and see what it is for that instrument tray from beginning to end. See what happens after it gets to decon, and we process it and put it through the sterilizer. See all the things that we go through. Then I think you have a better appreciation. So sometimes it's that division because we just lack the understanding of what each one of us do and our impact to the overall process.
Lila, okay, go ahead, Luane.
Hey, Lila and Sharon, can you imagine if any member of the healthcare profession, just think about any hospital, if any member, from the janitor to the security guard to the person who works in the lunchroom, if they were all decide just to stop one day and don't do their job, imagine the havoc it will cause throughout the institution. If any one of those folks would stop, patients couldn't eat, the staff couldn't eat. If the janitor stopped doing their important role of cleaning the facility, everyone will likely be sick, catching a health care acquired illness. So we have to understand the interrelations, that everyone truly matters.
Right. The ripple effect and the butterfly effect. If you pull anything out of that continuum, everything is affected. There is no piece that can be removed without everything being affected.
Right.
I wanted to say, I think the divide is a human nature. By whether we acknowledge it or not, we are meant to grow and continue to learn or do whatever. Some of us do it through lifelong learning and motivation, but whatever it is, when you stop doing things that grow you, whether relationally, intellectually, or whatever, there's this thing called stagnation. And when you start stagnating, what happens is we begin to look at other things a whole lot more, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I know, if I can say it in layman's terms, sometimes people look at other things. Okay, I'm not even gonna say that on the show. Yeah, so I just think, like, even with everything that just went on with COVID, we had that common enemy, right? No, everyone was like this. Everybody was unified. You know, when 9/11 happened, everyone is unified. Sometimes stagnation and just the steady humdrum frees up our time to start assigning meanings and things to other people's actions. And sometimes them being unaware are, like, if I'm unaware, somebody may take that as I don't care. Sometimes OR seeming to be unaware, they don't understand. After a while, sometimes people of SPD may feel like, well, they don't care. Same thing with the OR. You know, you don't understand how somebody they're under right now, and we need to get this here. This is not the time for you to lecture me on the proper name of an instrument, you know. So, but because, and they may feel like we don't care just because we're unaware of what they're going through. So I do think awareness both ways would help us not have that divide. And again, we're running in the same direction, even whether we started at the same or not. I don't see the benefit of taking time out of the day for me to interrupt your race, Lila, or your race, Luane, or, you know, traveler race or recruiter race. I don't see the benefit of that. But that's a personal thing. That was the hot seat question. I'm warm myself just from weighing in. So how you guys doing? We good?
Yes.
Thank you for sharing your Friday night. I'll see you guys next Tuesday. We'll be back Tuesday. We're gonna go this uptick. We're gonna transition out of this intense pace. So next week we'll have less shows than this week, and then in May we'll just go to the 2 shows a week. And again, it's just to bring information out, whether it's a sterilization principle, whether it's an OSHA, whether it's something, whatever it is, to help our audience, both publicly and within the sterile processing field. Y'all be safe. God bless. Anything? Any last words? All right, cool. Then y'all have a good one, and I will talk with you soon.
Thank you.